is in you, Lord, in you is in you. I praise you with all of my life. I praise you with all of my strength, with all of my life, with all of my strength. All of my hope is in you. My life is in you, Lord. My strength is in you, Lord. My hope is in you, Lord. In you is in you. In you is in you. In you.
Thank you, Alanta. I now invite Ananya Binoy to render a few words of welcome.
Between yesterday's mistakes and tomorrow's hope, there is a fantastic opportunity called today. A very warm good morning to all. It's an honor to present and welcome at this session. Let me begin by welcoming the Varghese Rithichara, our principal, who never hesitates in working towards bringing out the best in each one of us. Welcome, Father. Now, I cordially extend a hearty welcome to Dr. Alexander Mendes, who is our resource person for the day. He is the retired Associate Professor, Department of Mathematics from St. Albert's College, Ernakulam. His area of specialization include linear algebra, graph theory, computer languages, abstract algebra, fuzzy mathematics, lattice theory, category theory published papers, 7 international journals, 2 national and 2 local journals, and 1 UGC-funded minor project. I welcome you, sir, to this session. Let me also take this opportunity to welcome all the teachers who have joined us here today. Welcome, teachers. Now, last but not the least, I welcome all my fellow companions to this session and hope that this will be a prolific webinar. I once again express my wholehearted welcome to each one of you who have joined in for the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya, for those warm words. The participants, please note that a link will be put in the chat box during the session. I request all of you to open it and fill out the details. We are privileged to have Dr. Alexander Mendes, who's our resource person for the day, in our midst. I cordially welcome you, sir, to give us the session.
A very good morning to all of you. My dear students, I am very happy to interact with you today on the topic graphing inverse functions. Before we start, I will request all of you to keep a notebook and a pen or pencil beside you, because sometimes we will have to do some calculations. I will be doing the calculations. You can work it out and verify. And it is a very good practice of learning mathematics. So, with the permission of respected teachers, I am going to present my class. Today's problem is, or our problem is, how to graph the inverse of a function. How to graph the inverse of a function. Now here you can see so many terms like a function, inverse, and graph. So before going to graphing the functions or inverse functions, I think it will be better to know all these terms. Of course, you have learned all these functions, inverse and graph, everything, or you have studied. Still, I would like to just give a small introduction to the ideas of these functions and inverses and graphs in order to fresh up your memory. That's all. Now, let us look what is a function. What is a function? I shall explain this idea with the help of a simple example. Suppose 3 students from your school is participating in an art festival. Say, I don't know names of your students, so simply I'm giving 3 names. Say, Helen, Maria, and say Sri Devi. 3 students are participating in a dance competition for an art festival. Now we know it is a usual practice to award them grades according to their performance. Suppose the grades are A and B. And suppose, say, 2 students are getting A grade. So for example, Helen is getting A grade and Sri Devi is also getting A grade. And suppose Maria is getting the grade B. Now, what is the speciality of this? There are 2 things that you have to understand about this allocation or awarding process. So for that, first we put these 3 students, Helen, Maria, and Sri Devi, into a set. Let us call it X. And this we are making into another set, A and B into another set, and let us call by the name Y. So we have the situation we have changed or converted into a mathematical idea. First we started, there was no mathematics at all. We have only 3 students and 2 grades. But now we have mathematics because these 3 students are collected into a set. So we are introducing a set idea. So it is a mathematical idea. The 2 grades were there, A and B. There is nothing to do with mathematics. They have nothing to do with the mathematics. But now they have something to do with the mathematics because they have taken into a set so that these are 2 elements of the set Y and these 3 are 3 elements of the set X. Now, again, we are giving the grade. We say that we are associating. How we are associating? We are associating Helen with A. When we are doing that, we can have an ordered pair, say Helen, comma, A. This is called an ordered pair. The first element is coming from set X and the second element is coming from Y. So we say that this is an ordered pair. First element is from the first set, second element is from the second set. That is why we call it an ordered pair. It is not simply a pair, it is an ordered pair because first element is there and second element is there. First element should be always first element and second element should be always second element. So that's why we call it an ordered pair. Now again, say Maria got a B grade. So we are making into a ordered pair. And again, Sri Devi Sridevi is associated with the grade A. So we have got 3 pairs, 3 ordered pairs. This is also a mathematical concept. So again, I am telling, when we started, there was no mathematics. Now we are converting every idea in terms of mathematics. Now here, ordered pair Helen A, ordered pair Maria B, and ordered pair Sridevi A. We got 3 ordered pairs. Now, there is some speciality about this allocation. If you look, you can see that every element has got a grade. So who are participating in the grade, they are supposed in the competition, they are supposed to get a grade, some grade. So nobody should be left without allocating a grade. So here 3 participants are there: Helen, Maria, Sridevi. 3 of them, all of them, and each of them got some grade. That is the first speciality of this. And second thing is that nobody got more than 1 grade. For example, the same Helen is getting both a grade A and both grade B. It is not possible. It never happens like that. If somebody is getting a grade A, then it is her or his grade. And another grade is the same grade, A, B, C, everything, all the grades cannot be allocated to the same person. So one person will be getting a unique grade. So Maria is also getting a grade, which is B, that is unique for her. And Sridevi getting a grade that is unique for her. So these 2 things you have to understand. One, each element, I'm calling it element because now we are already converted into mathematics. So we can say element. Elements means members of the set X. Each element of X has some image. That is a mathematical term. Again, image, we call it an image. This A is called the image of Helen, B is called the image of Maria, and A is called the image of Sridevi. So every element, each and every element of set X has got an image, and that image is unique image. Not only an image, but a unique image. So I think it is visible and it is clear. I think it is clear. What I have written is clear. Now, this kind of ideas, these kind of assignments, this is called an assignment. This association, what I said about association, in mathematically they call it an assignment. Now the same idea we are going to pass on to a generalized setting. What is the generalized setting? Here in mathematics, whatever we do is in a generalized setting. So we simply take a set X. And we don't mention what all things are there in X. Only thing is that it should be non-empty. Non-empty means there should be at least 1 element. That's meaning of non-empty. So X is a non-empty set. You can put any element there. Whatever element you want, you can put in that X. Then you take another set which is called set Y. That is also non-empty. So both these sets are non-empty. So that means there should be at least 1 element in X, and there should be at least 1 element in Y. Now in X, there are elements. We are just marking it with some dots. For the time being, I am putting only 5 dots. It can contain any number of sets, any number of elements. In that set X can contain any number of elements. And here also there are elements which I am marking with a cross mark like this. It can contain any number of elements. There is no restriction to the number of elements. Any number of elements it can contain. Now what we do is we are assigning. So we take this first dot, and it should be assigned a unique element from Y. A unique element from Y. That means you cannot go another line like this. Line starting from X can only direct it towards only one element. Then from here, another element. From here, some other element. Or even same element you can go, no problem, like this. This is possible. From here only restriction is there, but it can go to the same point, there is no problem. And this one is also taking some element. You can take any element from here, no problem. So this is called a function. This is called a function from X to Y. Only two conditions are required. The first condition is that this every element should be assigned some element from Y. That is the first condition. Second condition is that associated element should be unique. Each element should be associated with a unique element of Y. So this is the idea of a function. Now usually this X is called the domain of the function, and this Y is called the codomain of the function. Now you see here there are some elements which are not allocated to anybody, so no problem. Here there can be some elements left out, no problem. In the codomain, if elements are left out, no problem at all. But here no element should be left out. All the elements should be allocated to somebody. So that's the idea. Now these elements which are allocated, we can make a subset out of that. Only the elements which are allocated, we can make a subset of that, and that is called the range of the function. And the elements of the range are called images. Set of images. This contains the set of images. A range contains the set of images. These are called images. I told already. These are called images, and this set of images is called the range. Now, suppose here also I am going to generalize each element. Instead of giving name to each element, I am just taking a representation. So suppose you take element and give it a name X, that will represent any element. This same X can be given to anywhere. So remember, in mathematics, we are always telling things in a generalized manner. So we take an element, X element of X means this X can be any element of X. That is the speciality of this generalization or abstraction. This is called an abstraction. You take X, this X will represent any element from X. And here, X element of X means this X can be any element from X. Now here, this X has an image, and that image is called, or it is represented by f of X. So X is given sent to f of X, element of Y. But here, when you say that f of X is an element of Y, this f of X cannot be any element of Y. That is the difference. Here when you take X, it can represent any element of X, but this f of X cannot be any element of Y. It can be only the same image of X. X image മാത്രമേ നമ്മൾ f of X കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ ഒരു വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ട്. This is for every element in X, but f of X should be a particular element, which is the image of X. It cannot be any element of Y. So that is a thing. Now, we have elements X and corresponding images, and I already told you we can form ordered pairs, say X, f of X. So if you are familiar with the set notation, I can write this in simple terms, in mathematical notation, very simple terms. I can write f, the function is a set of ordered pairs x f of x such that x element of x. This is a simple way of writing a function. F means it is a set of ordered pairs with the first element from x and the second element of its image. So when you say x element of x, automatically it means that f of x is the image of that x and it is belonging to y. Now another way of giving a function is writing y is equal to f of x. You must remember this f of x is an element of y. So we write that f of x instead of f of x, we can write y also. The same f of x we can write as y also. So this same function can be written like this: set of ordered pairs of x and y, where y is equal to f of x. So this is the simple way of representing a function. I hope you already understood. You know already, but already these things are taught to you. I just wanted to recapitulate only that I did. So we are passing on to the next concept. Can anybody speak? Is it clear or not? Now, as I have told you, when you define a function, the domain and codomain are not restricted. It can be any set whatsoever. But in this context, now what we are going to study, in that context, we consider only real functions. So definitely you will ask, what is the meaning of a real function? Nothing is there. Instead of x, we take a subset of R. Instead of y, we take a subset of R. So here in the real functions, the elements in that set should be numbers, should be real numbers. It cannot be Helen or Sridevi or somebody else. Only real numbers can. And again, it does not mean that we are not telling that it is the real number. We don't say it is the real number. Domain is the real number. We don't say like that, because if we say like this, the full real number should be there. But we say that domain is a set of real numbers. Domain is a set of real numbers. A set of real numbers means only thing is that the elements in X or the elements here, only real numbers can come there. Other than real numbers, nothing can come here. So even if one real number is put, it's okay. So that's the difference between telling domain is a set and is the set. If you're talking about the set of real numbers, then it should be full. All the real numbers should be there. So that is why we say X is either a subset or even can be equal to R. The full real numbers can come here. Here also same. Now, if the domain is a set of real numbers, or I can say it is a subset of real numbers, and y is also a subset of real numbers. Here also we are taking only real numbers. Then we say that this function is a real function. So I'm concluding f is said to be a real function if it is a function from a set of real numbers to a set of real numbers. And do you know the requirement? Whatever element is there, each of them should be assigned with a unique element of y. And in simply, we write this function as y is equal to f of x. So when we, again, this is also, as I told you, this is a mathematical way of expressing things in an abstract manner. Y is equal to f of x. What is y is equal to f of x? If somebody is asking you what is y is equal to f of x, then you must be able to say that there are two sets x and y, and there is a function defined from x to y with the condition that every element of x has a unique image in y. So this idea is represented simply by writing y is equal to f of x. So that's the idea. Now I shall give one example. I shall give an example of a real set. I mean, real function. Let's take a simple example. Say y is equal to, say, 3x plus 1. I'm making a small correction. Let us take it as 2x1. Now, this, sorry, I did not give the definition before going to this. Let me give you the mathematical definition also. I gave you the idea, but I forgot to define. You have to, mathematics is such that whatever is there should be clear-cut definition. So simply telling like this, nobody will accept. Should have a clear-cut definition. So if you are defining a function, that should be a clear-cut definition of a function. Nobody should be able to question it. So what is the definition of a function? A function from a set x to another set y is a rule which assigns every element of x a unique element of y. This is the definition of a function. Somebody is asking you what is the definition of function. You can tell like this: a function from a set x to another set y is a rule which assigns every element of x a unique element of y. Now, sometimes if you give the name for the function, you can add that also, a function f from a set x to another set y. Now, this thing, a function f from a set to another set y, can be again simplified like this: f from x to y. So you see, this is the beauty of mathematics. All those who are interested in mathematics, you know that. If those who are not interested in mathematics, they also should create some interest in mathematics, because many people cannot follow mathematics only because they don't understand such simple ideas. Actually, mathematics is trying to simplify things. So if you understand that, you can create a interest towards mathematics. This is simply writing f is a mapping from x to y instead of writing all this thing. See, instead of writing a sentence, you can simply write like this: f is a mapping from x to y. Okay, so f is a function f from x to another set y is a rule which assigns every element of X a unique element of Y. So here, see, there is a word rule. That means whenever we are having a function, there should be some rule governing that. So you see, y is equal to x plus 1. When I am writing y is equal to x plus 1, this is the rule. This is the rule. This rule governs this function. So it is just like this. Suppose you consider a machine. There is a machine. And what that machine does is, whatever you put into that, it makes some kind of transformation to that x, some kind of transformation according to the rule. Whatever rule are we giving there, according to that rule, it will transform this x and it will give the output. This output will be equal to answer to this 2x plus 1. For example, suppose you put 1 here. When you put 1 here, instead of x, they put 1 here and do this calculation. 2 into 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3. And the output will be 3. So into this box or into this machine, you put 1. What is coming out? Coming out thing will be 3. And you are getting a ordered pair 1, 3. So this is what? This is the function, one element of the function. You put another number, say whatever real number you like. Suppose you want to put pi. Pi is a real number. You put here, you get 2 pi plus 1. So when you put pi, as the answer you are getting pi, 2 pi plus 1. That is the answer, 2 pi plus 1. Like that, whatever you want, you can put here. Suppose you are putting root 2 here. Root 2 is a real number. So 2 root 2 plus 1. Or if you want to put, you can put minus 1 and calculate 2 into minus 1 plus 1 is equal to minus 2 plus 1. That's equal to minus 1. So when you put minus 1, you are getting the same answer, minus 1. So simply speaking, this is the idea behind the real function. So we are going back to the same function. Y is equal to 2x plus 1. Remember, this y can be also written as f of x. Both these are used. Sometimes you write y, sometimes you use f of x. In certain cases, if writing f of x is better than writing y. Now, let us make a chart of ordered pairs. Suppose you put x here, you are putting either y or f of x. Both are same. So you look 2x plus 1. I repeat, instead of writing f of x, you can write a y also, no problem. Now here we are supposing that x is an element of R, the full set R, any real number. you're assuming that this function is defined on the full set of real numbers. That means this x can take any real number, whatever real number you like, or all the real numbers it can take. But it is not possible for us to consider all the real numbers because they are innumerable. Even it is uncountable. In higher mathematics, we call it uncountable. The meaning of which I am not explaining it now. It will take some time. So you are just considering some elements arbitrarily. For example, suppose I take -2 here. Calculate -1 here. Calculate according to this rule 0. Calculate according to this rule 1 and 2. Now, as I have told you to keep a notebook close by and just calculate what will be the answer to this. When you take -2, it becomes f of -2 is equal to 2 into -2 plus 1. I ask all of you to do it by yourself and check if it is correct. Yeah, and if I am making a mistake, you have to tell me. So 2x plus 1. Your x is equal to -2. So 2 into -2 plus 1. 2 into -2 is -4. -4 plus 1 is equal to -3. So the image of -2 is -3. And you are getting the ordered pair as -2, -3. Then if you take -1, f of -1 is equal to 2 into -1 plus 1. That's equal to -2 plus 1. That's equal to -2. So image of -1 is, -1. Two into -1, -2, -2 plus 1 is -1. So image of -1 is -1. When you put 0, f of 0 is equal to 2 into 0 plus 1. That's equal to 0 plus 1. That's equal to 1. Now when you put 1, f of 1 is equal to 2 into 1 plus 1. 2 into 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. F of 2 is 2 into 2 plus 1. That's equal to 4 plus 1. That's equal to 5. The ordered pair is 2, 5. F is equal to set of ordered pairs -2, -3, -1, -1, 0, 1, 1, 3, and 2, 5. If you want, etc., of course, does not stop there, etc. Because I told you we can take contains, actually R contains infinite number of elements. So accordingly, according to the rule, you have to calculate it and write. Now, for their simplicity, we are taking only a few numbers from the domain and find the corresponding images. Now, you can put, if you want, you can put more elements, -3 or -4 or 3 or 4, whatever value you like, you can give, and accordingly you can calculate and you can find the ordered pairs of that function. Clear? Sorry. Now, this ordered pairs, you can see this belongs to X, this belongs to Y. X belongs to X, Y belongs to Y. So what we do is, we draw two lines, X-axis and Y-axis, which represent the set of real numbers. So if, I'm sorry if my drawing will be a little crooked, please don't mind it, because on the tab it is very difficult to write lines, draw lines. So please don't mind if the line is not exact line. We know we make two perpendicular, mutually perpendicular lines, X and Y, and this X means the set of real numbers, and Y is the set of real numbers. You can see that we are putting arrows to both sides. That means it is going on to the left and to the right indefinitely. So all these points on them will be real numbers. That is the idea. And another set of real numbers is drawn like this. Now, you know, definitely, you know, this point of intersection is taken as 1, and towards the right we take our positive numbers, but here all the numbers are positive numbers, real numbers, but we choose only the counting numbers for simplicity, like this. And to the left, you know, it is negative real numbers. Here also, for the simplicity, we are taking only negative integers, -1, -2, -3, like that, go like that. And always the line above the origin is always taken as positive. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember that between these, all these points are numbers, not only 1, 2, 3, and 4. All the numbers on this line, there are so many points, all these points are numbers. You have to remember that. So this is -1, -2, like that, -3, like that. Now, what is the meaning of a graphing? What's the meaning of it? That should be some meaning, you know. What's the meaning of a graphing? Graphing is a simple way of representing a function. That's all. So that when you are looking at the graph, we have some idea about the nature of the function. That is the idea behind the graphing. Some function is given. What is that function? What is the actual meaning of that function, or is it representing something? What is the actual nature of that function? All this can be understood by plotting its graph. So after graphing this function, you can see what is happening. You see, I'm taking first element, -2, -3. So on the x-axis, you take -2, correspondingly on the y, you are getting -3. This is -3, and this is -2. Where this lines passing through -2 and -3 meets, that is called the pointer -2, -3. The ordered pair -2, -3 is represented using this pointer. Then -1, 1, -1, -1. That means on the x you take -1, and y also you take -1, and find the meeting point. That point will represent this point will represent the ordered pair -1, -1. And we say that -1, -1 is a point. -1, -1 is a point. Ordered pair -1, -1 we have converted into a point. Similarly, 0, 1. On the x you take 0, and on the y you are getting 1. So this is 0, 1. This is 0, 1. It's a point 0, 1. Then you take 1, 3, 1. You take 1 here and a 3 here. That's also a point. Now you see, if you look at this, I told you are taking only some points, 1, 2, 3, etc. If you take all the points, if you take the next point to 0, nobody knows what is the next point to 0, but there is some point, of course. So according to that point, here also you'll get a point. like that. What point you are going to get, that you can understand by joining these lines, I mean these points. Zero one on the 0 1. This is the pointer. So since these lines I have not drawn with accuracy, actually these points a little crooked. Actually, it is supposed to go through these points. 1 3 1 3 is here. 1 3. I'm sorry. 1 3 is here. So join that. These are the 4 points I have plotted. If you are using a scale and to measure this 1 2 3 etc. and drawing correctly, you can get a straight line. So what we understood, this function or this rule given by y is equal to x plus 1, actually it represents a straight line. So it is called a linear function, linear, because it is corresponding to a line. We call it a linear function. Now in general, you take any function y is equal to ax plus b. Remember I told you in the beginning, whenever you're talking in mathematics, we are talking in a generalized setup. This y is equal to 2x plus 1. These 2 and 1 are not anything special about it. These two, this instead of 2, you can write any number, any real number. That is why you call it a. Here also you can give any real number. That's why I'm writing b. And whatever value you like, you can give instead of 2 and instead of 1. So that's the beauty. Again, I'm telling you, this is the beauty of mathematics. Everything is simplified, generalized, or abstracted. That is a term for actual term for this kind of thing. Abstracted. The idea is abstracted. Instead of writing y is equal to x plus 1, I am writing y is equal to x plus 1, x plus b, because of that, this simple thing contains any linear function. It can be any linear function. As you change a and b, accordingly, you get many number of, infinite number of linear functions. Infinite number of linear functions. All these infinite things are represented by a single equation y is equal to ax plus b. But of course, without knowing what is the meaning of a and b, we cannot find that actual line. This is only representing a function. Now this a, you have to specifically have to put a, and specifically you have to put b, like y is equal to x plus 1. Then only you can write the answer. You can get you can calculate like this. You can, if you want to calculate the images, you must know what is the value of a and b. Then only you can calculate, and then only you can plot this graph. And whatever value you give to a and b and make this plotting, you are going to get only a straight line. So this is called a linear function. Y is equal to x plus 1 is called a linear function. Okay, I think it is clear to you now what is the meaning of a graph, what is the meaning of a function, what is the meaning of a real function, all these things. I hope you understood. Now I'll simply give one more example. Now, since you got the idea what is a function, how the graphing and all that, now we can go very fast. Now, I'll give you one more example. y is equal to x square. The ordered pairs will be like this. You. Don't mind the picture. Okay, so here you have y, here you have x, and here you have f of x or y. As we have done earlier, you put different values, say -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. F of x is x square. That means you just take this, you apply this rule. So -3 square, 9, -2 the whole square, 4, -1 the whole square, 1, 0 square, 0, 1 square, 1, 2 square, 4, 3 square, 9. Zero, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you see -3, 9, -3, 9. First here. -2, 4. Here. -1, 1. Here. 0, 0. Here. 1, 1. 2, 4. 3, 9. You can see that this is not a straight line. You just join these points like this. So actually it is going to be a curve. It is I made some, you know the difficulty of drawing this. Actually, it should be a curve, a smooth curve like this. Here also, we join this smooth starting and work. Now you are familiar with the graph. This is called a parabola, y is equal to x square. And in general, any function of the form y is equal to ax squared. Whatever value you like, you can give for a. This kind of function is called the function of a parabola. Instead of a, here instead of a, I am giving 1, and you are getting like this. If you put a, you'll get something else like that. If you put instead of, along with this, you can put b also, no problem. But usually we are giving this only, y is equal to x square. So we are getting a parabola. Now these are the two functions I would like to introduce today, and the inverse of this. What is the inverse? Inverse of a function. Inverse of a function is nothing but the function is written in the reverse order. That's all. Suppose you have an x here, and its image is here, f of x. Then you send this f of x back to x. Whatever you are getting here, you send it back to x. Let us look here. Here f, an image of f is -3, 9. The corresponding element of f inverse will be 9 minus 3. You are sending back the image to the original number. That's it. I hope you understood. Whatever is, if x is sent to f of x, that f of x is sent back to x. If -3 is sent to 9, you send that 9 back to -3. This is called f inverse. So f inverse is nothing but just sending back the images to the original element. Pre-image, we call it a pre-image. An image is sent to the original pre-image. That function, that rule is called f inverse. But one thing you have to remember is that even if f is a function, f inverse need not be a function. F is a function does not mean that f inverse is a function. Does not mean. So that you have to remember. Even if f is a function, f inverse need not be a function. Now there is a test which is called a horizontal line test to verify whether the given function or is really a function. Horizontal line test for functions. What we do is draw a horizontal line. I'm sorry, vertical line test. Sorry, I'm very sorry. Vertical line test. Vertical line test is used for determining if the given thing is a function. Now, suppose you draw a horizontal, vertical line like this. Anywhere you like, here or here or here, whatever, wherever you like, just draw a horizontal line. If the horizontal line meets the curve only at one point, it means that the curve is a function. If it is meeting more than 2 points, or 2 points or more than 2 points, or 1 point, more than 1 points, it is not a function. So for example, suppose you draw a circle like this. You draw a circle like this. It is not a circle, but assume that it is a circle. Then you draw a line anywhere, wherever you like, you draw lines. You can see that it is meeting at 2 points. So actually, circle is not a function. That's it. So horizontal test means, vertical test means you draw a vertical line and look if the vertical line meets the curve in more than 1 point. If it is meeting the curve in more than 1 point, it cannot be a function. In this case, it is meeting only at 1 point. Wherever you like, you draw, it is forming only a, it is meeting only at a point, only 1 point. So this is an example of a function. Now, you take the inverse of this function, it will not be, inverse will not be a function because, but there are things, there are functions which whose inverse is also a function, but this particular is this particular function, inverse of that particular function is not a function. I shall show it why it is not a function. You got the idea how to graph the inverse. I hope you got the idea how to graph the inverse. I already told you to find f inverse. You just change the ordered pairs. So if this is x and this is y, here you have -3, 9, -2, 4, -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. This is this corresponds to f. Now for f inverse, x and y will remain same, don't bother, x and y will remain same, but the orientation will change. 9 will go to -3, 4 will go to -2, 1 will go to -1, 0 will go to 0, 1 will go to 1, 4 will go to 2, and 9 will go to 3. Now this is f inverse. Now if you plot this, on the x you take 9 and on y you take -3. X -3 will be like this. And, oh, sorry. X means you have to extend to here. This is x and this is y. 0, minus 1, minus 2, 3, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Eight, 9. See, on the x you take 9 and on the y you take minus 3. This will be the point. 4 minus 2, this will be the point. 1 minus 1, this will be the point. 0, 0 is this point. You draw it. Again, you take a 1, 4, 9. On the 9, x you are taking minus 3. For 4 you are getting minus 2. And minus 2 you are getting minus 1 you are getting 1, 0 you are getting 0. So, I'm sorry, I cannot draw it properly. I'm very sorry. But it will go like this, something like this. Now, you can see that this cannot. I'm sorry, I made a mistake because 9 goes to 3. It is like this. 9 goes to 3. 4 goes to 2. And 1 goes to 1. I'm sorry. This is it. The other thing, I'm sorry. Again, 1 goes to 1, 4 goes to 2. I mean, 9 goes to 2 points. That's it. I'm sorry. 9 goes to 3 and again 9 goes to minus 3. So this will be coming here. I'm very sorry. Minus 3 and minus 2 goes to 4. Minus 1 goes to 1 like this. 0 goes to 0. You know. Same 9 goes to both minus 3 and plus 3. Yeah. I'm sorry for the problem. See, the same 9 goes to both minus 3 and 3. Like this. Same 4 goes to both minus 2 and plus 2. And the same 1 goes to both minus 1 and 1. Like that. So this now, as I have told you, You can check if this is a graph by drawing a horizontal line. No, I mean a vertical line. In this case, you are drawing a vertical line. You draw a vertical line, it is getting it is meeting the graph at 2 points. So this is not a, inverse is not a function. I'm sorry for the disturbance. So I shall give the idea once more how to draw the inverse. For that, first reverse the order of, reverse the order of ordered pairs. Ordered pairs of F. Then we get the ordered pairs of F inverse. Plot it to get the graph of the inverse function. So this is the 3 steps involved in graphing the 3 steps involved in graphing the inverse. Of a function. Three steps involved in graphing the inverse of a function. 1, reverse the order of the ordered pairs. So for example, if in F we have AB, in F inverse we have BA, do that. But remember that here it is X, here it is Y, here also it is X, and here it is Y. Don't think that this is Y and X. That order we are not changing. It will remain X here. The set X will be taken as X itself. Here also the domain is always taken as X. That's it. So when you're defining backwards, this is the domain, and domain is always taken as X. In the case of a F inverse, this is the domain, and this is the codomain. In the case of F, here it is X, and it is the domain. That you have to remember. Even if you are interchanging the ordered elements of the ordered pair, the codomain remains same, and domain also remains same. The name of the domain. Okay, not the domain and codomain. Domain and codomain changes, but the name does not change. So that you have to understand. I am telling you once more. I hope it is clear to you. We are changing only the ordered pairs. We change the ordered pairs. Definitely, domain and codomain will change, but the name given to domain is X, and the name given to codomain is Y. We change the name. I mean, we do not change the name. Name of the domain. Name of the domain is always X, and name of the codomain is always Y. I hope it is clear to you. So the first step is reverse the order of the ordered pairs. Then we get the ordered pairs of F inverse. Then plot these points to get the inverse function. So this is the technique for finding the inverse of a function. If we got time. Miss Simi or Miss?
Yes, sir.
So
I
got the
think,
time because any time constraint?
yes, sir. And anything more to explain?
I have to give one more example if time allows. Otherwise, no problem.
Simi, miss.
Yes, miss.
What is your suggestion? Shall we go on or
They
we
didn't
conclude now?
learn the concept of inverse. It is
Did not get
excluded from their syllabus.
so okay. That I will explain once more. 5 minutes will do.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, very good. The inverse idea of the inverse, I shall explain once more because I thought there is some time constraint. That's why I hurried. Don't worry. Inverse of a function. What is inverse of a function? We have a function, say f from x to y. Now this is domain. This is called a domain, and this is called a codomain. And in domain we have some element. We call it by the name x, and the corresponding image we call by the name either y or by the name f of x. This is the first idea to remember. Any element from x is sent to a unique element y, and it's called f of x. Another name for y is f of x. Now, when we are finding f inverse, we are sending this image to its corresponding pre-image. So we are sending y to x. So we are getting a function f inverse from y to x, such that what is the f inverse of y? F inverse of y is equal to x. F inverse of y is equal to x. If y is equal to f of x, then f inverse of y is equal to x. This is the idea of the f inverse. Now, even if this is the idea, I shall just give you an example to illustrate this idea. Here we have, say, let's just take the same example. Say, let's take this example 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just giving a simple example. And here just multiplying it by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. So that y is equal to 2x. This is x and this is y, and the function is y is equal to 2x. So you take one element from x, it is sent to 2, 2 to 4, 3 to 6, and 4 to 8. This is f. Now, in order to find f inverse, what we do is these images are sent back to the original number. So in domain we take 2, 4, 6, 8. Remember, set is different, but the name of the domain is always x. That you have to remember. Set is different, but the name of the domain is always x. And here the name of the domain is y, and 2 is sent back to 1, 1 is sent to 2, 6 is sent to 3, 8 is sent to 4. You are sending it back. And this is called the f inverse. I hope now the idea is clear. Simi miss?
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Clear or no?
Yes.
Idea clear?
yes,
Yes, sir. Now I'll
Okay.
ask the participants if they have
Okay.
any queries. Dear students, if you have any queries, you
Ah.
can type in the chat box now.
Okay. Thank you. Now I shall show you how to draw the graph of this. You see, here you have x-axis and y-axis. Here you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Here also you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the image of 1 is 2, image of 2 is 4, image of 3 is 6, and image of 4 is 8. Now you can join. If you put 0, 0 will be 0. You can join and you'll get a straight line. Passing through 0, of course. I'm sorry for making these mistakes. It was very difficult to draw. Passing through the origin, it will be going like this. Like this. Now to draw the inverse, you use the same x-axis and y-axis. That you have to be very careful. X-axis and y-axis do not change. Axis do not change. So you remember. So here what you get is 2 to 1. You take 2 and 2 is sent back to 1. 4 to 2. 4 is sent to 2. 6 to 3. 6 is sent to 3. One is sent to 2. 2 is sent to 1. 4 is sent to 2. The 6 is sent to 3. Draw the line like this. 0 is sent to 0, of course. So if this is F, this will be F inverse. One more thing you have to remember that these two lines, F and F inverse, will be mirror images along the line y is equal to x. Y is equal to x means, you take 1, 1, you get 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 0, 0. That's called y is equal to x. It will be going like this. And you can see that this line and this line are mirror images. Above this line, y is equal to x. So these are the ideas I have to convey. If you have got any doubt, you please ask me. I shall clarify it.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Students, if you have any doubt, now you can type in the chat box. Otherwise, we will conclude the session. Sir, have you got any messages or questions?
No, nothing has come so
Okay.
far.
So I think, sir, we will conclude.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
And now I request George Kurian to continue. Students
Teacher,
are-
1 minute.
yes, Father.
We conclude. We are
Yes.
grateful to Dr. Alexander for conducting this class for us. He, as you know, he is also a PTA president and he is always willing to help us in this. for the betterment of our students. So, dear sir, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, Father.
Okay, continue.
Okay, thank you very much, Father. Now, George Kurian, you can continue. And students, I have shared the Google Form link in the chat box. So reminding you to submit it now itself. Yes, George.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to welcome Devika P to bestow the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Gratitude. Yes, for my part, I'm almost contented just now and very thankful to all of you who have been a part of this event. We are forever grateful to our dear principal, Reverend Father Varghese Idatichara, for his great nourishing impact in our school. Thank you, Father. Our gratitude to Alexander Sir, retired Associate Professor in Mathematics Department of St. Albert's College, for spending his valuable time with us. Thank you, sir. We thank the Department of Mathematics for organizing such a webinar. Thank you, dear teachers. Our gratitude to the technical assistance team is boundless. Thank you, Shiju sir. And to you, my dear friends, thank you so much for your wholehearted participation in making this event a fruitful one. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, Devika. The session is coming to a close here. Let us keep what we have learned here today safe in our minds and move forward. I once again thank you all for joining in. You can leave the meeting now.